The courtroom smelled like old wood and bad decisions, but HOA Karen didn't care. She was here to win, or at least to scream loud enough to feel like she had. $20, that's what started this war, and now she stood, chin high, ready to burn the whole place down over it. It began in the sleepy suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns and HOA rules reigned supreme. HOA, self-appointed queen of the neighborhood association, had ruled with an iron fist for years. Her vest, a tactical monstrosity with HOA stitched in garish white letters, was her badge of honor. She wore it like armor, striding through cul-de-sacs, issuing fines for untrimmed hedges or mailboxes that dared to lean a degree off-center. To her, the $20 fine she'd slapped on Mrs. Delgado for a non-compliant garden gnome was justice. To everyone else, it was tyranny. Mrs. Delgado, a sweet widow with a penchant for tacky lawn ornaments, refused to pay. "It's just a gnome, HOA," she'd pleaded, her voice trembling. But HOA didn't budge. She doubled down, dragging the case to small claims court, her ego too bloated to let a single dollar slip. The neighborhood watched, first with amusement, then with growing unease. Whispers turned to shouts on social media, where HOA Karen trended as memes of her vest-clad crusades flooded X. "She's unhinged," one post read. "Who fights over a gnome?" another mocked. HOA didn't care. She thrived on the chaos, her righteousness fueled by every angry comment. The courtroom was packed on the day of the hearing. Spectators spilled into the aisles, their phones discreetly recording, hoping for a viral moment. HOA stood at the plaintiff's table, her vest gleaming under fluorescent lights, her eyes darting like a predator's. Mrs. Delgado sat across the room, clutching her rosary, her lawyer whispering assurances. The judge, a grizzled veteran named Harold Grayson, peered over his glasses, already weary of the circus. "This is about a $20 fine," he asked, his voice dripping with disbelief. HOA nodded, her jaw tight. "It's about principle, Your Honor." The hearing was a disaster from the start. HOAs evidenced a stack of grainy photos of the offending gnome drew snickers from the gallery. Her argument, a rambling tirade about community standards and aesthetic integrity, sounded like a manifesto from a dystopian novel. Mrs. Delgado's lawyer countered with a single sentence: "My client's gnome harms no one." The room erupted in murmurs of agreement. HOA's face reddened. She felt the tide turning, the weight of 100 judging eyes. She wasn't just losing, she was being humiliated. Then came the moment that would define her. Judge Grayson, with a sigh that carried the weight of 30 years on the bench, ruled against her. "Ms. Karen, this court finds your claim frivolous." Case dismissed. The gavel slammed, a sound like a guillotine. HOA froze, her world collapsing in that single crack of wood. $20. Her reputation, her power, all gone. She leaned forward, her voice low but venomous. "You're wrong," she hissed. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me." What happened next was pure instinct, raw and reckless. HOA's hand shot out, a blur of motion, and slapped Judge Grayson across the face. The courtroom gasped, a collective inhale that sucked the air from the room. The judge staggered, his glasses askew, his cheek blooming red. Bailiffs lunged, spectators screamed, and phones captured every second. HOA didn't flinch. "You can't silence me," she shouted as two officers tackled her, pinning her arms. The wooden signboard by the wall, scrawled with HOA Karen's Reckoning, seemed to mock her as she was dragged toward the exit, her vest catching on a chair. The fallout was immediate. By evening, the slap was national news. X exploded with hashtags, HOA slaps judge, Karen goes wild. Clips of the incident racked up millions of views, each accompanied by a storm of comments. "She's a menace," one user wrote. "Finally, karma hits back," another gloated. Local news ran segments on the HOA tyrant, digging up stories of her past cruisals, fining a veteran for a flagpole, threatening a single mom over a basketball hoop. The public's outrage was a tidal wave, relentless and unforgiving. But beneath the memes and mockery, something deeper stirred. Willow Creek's residents began to talk not just about HOA but about the system that let her thrive. HOAs, meant to maintain order, had become breeding grounds for petty dictators. "She's not the only one," A neighbor posted on X, "Our HOA president tried to fine me for my dog barking once." The conversation grew, spilling into town halls and online forums. People shared stories of overreach, of neighbors turning on neighbors over trivialities. HOA slap, absurd as it was, became a lightning rod for a broader reckoning. HOA, now in a holding cell, wasn't done. She demanded a press conference, her lawyer reluctantly agreeing. Standing before a gaggle of reporters, her vest confiscated but her defiance intact, she doubled down. "I fought for order," she declared, her voice shaking with conviction. "You all mock me, but who keeps your streets clean? Who makes sure your property values stay high?" The reporters scribbled furiously, but the public wasn't buying it. Her words, meant to rally, only fanned the flames of scorn. Petitions circulated to dissolve the Willow Creek HOA entirely. By week's end, thousands had signed. Mrs. Delgado, meanwhile, became an unlikely hero. Her gnome, now a symbol of resistance, inspired lawn decorations across the neighborhood: gnomes, flamingos, even a plastic dinosaur. The media dubbed it the Gnome Revolution, a tongue-in-cheek nod to the absurdity of it all. But for every chuckle, there was a real question. Why had it come to this? Why had a $20 fine spiraled into a courtroom brawl, a viral scandal, a community uprising? HOA's trial for assaulting the judge was swift. She pleaded guilty, her lawyer citing emotional distress from the public's vitriol. The judge mercifully not grace and sentenced her to 6 months in jail and community service. As she was led away, HOA caught a glimpse of herself on a courtroom TV, a headline screaming, "HOA Karens fall from grace." She wanted to scream, to explain, but the cuffs were tight and the cameras were relentless. Months later, Willow Creek was different. The HOA was disbanded, replaced by a voluntary neighborhood council focused on collaboration, not control. Mrs. Delgado's gnome still stood proudly, now joined by a handwritten sign, "Live and let live." The community had learned, painfully, that power unchecked, however small, breeds resentment. HOA's name faded from headlines, but her story lingered, a cautionary tale etched into the suburbs' memory. Across the country, the ripples spread. HOAs faced scrutiny, their rules questioned, their leaders held accountable. Ex-post tracked the movement, with Gnome Revolution evolving into community over control. People began to see the humanity in their neighbors, not just the rule breakers. HOA, from her cell, heard snippets of this change. She didn't regret the slop, it was her truth, her stand, but she wondered, in quiet moments, if she'd misunderstood what community really meant. The world moved on, but Willow Creek never forgot. The wooden signboard from the courtroom, now displayed in a local cafe, became a quirky relic. It scrawled words, "HOA Karen's Reckoning," a reminder that even the smallest battles can spark the biggest changes. HOA's story wasn't just about a slap or a gnome. It was about the cost of rigidity, the power of collective outrage, and the fragile, messy beauty of human connection. Reflect on your own neighborhood: what small rules are worth fighting for, and which are worth letting go.